begin in the name of God, the Beneficent, the Merciful. All praise belongs to God and God alone. For God is the originator of everything that is good. For He is the absolute good. And He is the cause of all good causes. And I stand in front of you with honor and gratitude for having been given this wonderful opportunity to speak in a university, within the walls of academia, among people who are educated, striving to gain knowledge and understanding about their own existence, and to contribute, hopefully, towards the progress of mankind. Because I feel that the academic institutions are the spawning grounds of all the progress in society, because, as they say, the famous bumper sticker, they say, if you think education is expensive, try ignorance. It's the most expensive thing, ignorance, but knowledge, education is a wonderful institution. And I find that in my experiences in life, people who are educated within the walls of academia especially, I find them to be the most broad-minded and the most receptive to diverse views. And Salisbury University is an excellent example of diversity with the help of excellent people like my brother Mr. White and the rest of the community here, and of course the MSA with the leadership of Sister Samina and her team. May God bless you all. The subject is, of course, with regards to what does Islam have to say as far as what the purpose is for us on this earth. And I will start reading some of the verses from the Holy Quran, which is the last revelation given to the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, and his family, as the final set of laws given unto man, upon which, where the start of those laws were given to Adam as the first prophet, and there were, in principle, many books given, but the Quran specifically notes 4 major revelations that came in time. One was the revelation that was given, of course the Quran doesn't mention it by name, but it was given to Abraham also, who is a patriarch, if you want to call it, of the Abrahamic faiths. But we have David, who received the revelation. You have Moses, who's been given the revelation. You have Jesus, who's been given the revelation, and the Holy Prophet, who was given the revelation, and peace be upon all of them and their families. Basically, the Quran completes that initial mission unto mankind, which is to guide them. And I will quote a series of verses in the 76th chapter of the Quran, known as Surah Al-Dahr, or the other name is known as Surah Al-Insan. Dahr means time, Insan means mankind. And it begins with an interrogative, meaning there's a question being posed. And the verse says, هَلْ أَتَى عَلَى الْإِنسَانِ حِينٌ مِنَ الدَّهْرِ لَمْ يَكُنْ شَيْئًا مَذْكُورًا. Has man not considered that there was a time he was not worthy of being mentioned? And here when I say he, it's the generic he, meaning he/she. Because the Arabic denotes both genders when it's saying this. هَلْ أَتَى عَلَى الْإِنسَانِ حِينٌ مِنَ الدَّهْرِ لَمْ يَكُنْ, meaning not even a little mention was worthy of that individual being. And I've used this example many times when I lecture, where I would pose a question to a child, and I say, what do you think of your son? And the child would look at me and say, what are you talking about? I'm still a child myself. I'm not even married yet. I said, but tomorrow, hopefully you will have a son and a daughter and children. When you have them, they will be the most important thing to you. Your life will move around them. And if you lose them, it will be devastating. But at this moment, it is really absurd for me to be asking you such a question, isn't it? And the child says, yes. I said, even if I were to question that to an adult who has children, and if I were to question them about a child they haven't gotten yet, they'll say, what are you talking about? I only have 3 children. Why are you putting the 4th one? So God is questioning that. He says, is it not a thought for you that you were not worthy of being mentioned at one time, and yet you are so important today that the me, the myself and I, is so central to you that everything revolves around you. It's so true. At the end of the day, it's me. I'm talking, I'm thinking, what's happening to me? Why am I here? Where am I going? What's going to happen to me? Well, God is questioning me from that perspective to show me that I am so merciful, God is saying to me, that you were not worthy of being mentioned, let alone existing. And now you exist. And not only do you exist, I have endowed you with so many abilities that even the automated abilities of your body are so functional that when you think about it, an individual human being, for him to commit suicide, outside of using instruments that are not endowed upon him or her, is not possible. You can't choke yourself. You cannot stop breathing because the body takes over. You know, kids, they tell their mommy, right? You don't get me that toy, I'll stop breathing. And then you find the kid just tries it. Next thing you know, falls asleep. Because God has endowed a system to ensure that this human being continues to live. That's the mercy of God. That out of his foolishness, he may perchance or she may perchance damage themselves, and that's not acceptable. That's a merciful God. So God is saying to me that you are not worthy of being mentioned. Take that as your foundation of all discussions. And when you have difference of opinions, you have problems in this life, and you're questioning your own integrity or the integrity of everything that exists around you, understand that at the very onset, you were not worthy of being created. But now that you do exist, look in the mirror and ask yourself, do you like yourself? That if you have a scar on your face, do you like it? No, you work against it. Why? Why is it that when you're ill, you move to correct, you to fix yourself? It's uncomfortable when you're not feeling well. Why do you move towards solving your impediments? And God is saying, imagine I created you with such a system. But I do allow those things to go into those stages where you do become ill, and you do sometimes lose a limb, and you do get killed, just to let you know that this which you appreciate so much is a great gift upon you. And humans have a tendency to appreciate things after they lose things. Or they tend to appreciate it after they have a clear recognition that the potential of loss is very near. You'll find teenagers tend to become very wild in their behaviors because they're not living a life of true reality, that death does not discriminate. And they think, I'm young. They say, I'm young. I've got agility. I can do daredevil things. I can challenge myself to the edge of death. But when they do come that way, you find them to be very careful about life thereafter. Or, for example, that individual who had to go for a heart transplant, and I think 2020 did a wonderful presentation about that, about those individuals who were waiting for transplants. And there was an individual waiting to receive a heart, and when they were covering it, they did it to the last minute, where this man was definitely going to die if he didn't get a heart. And it was a matter of hours that they were able to get a heart, and they were interviewing this man, and he had tears coming out of his eyes, and he was just hanging, as they say, by the skin of his teeth. And when he got the heart, after he recovered, Hugh Downs was asking him, so what is the first thing you're going to do when you get out of this hospital? And an amazing response. He says, I'm going to leave this hospital, and I'm going to stand outside, and when that rain drops, I want it to fall on my face. How many of us think that while we're lying in our rooms, that one of the greatest feelings is to walk outside and just put our face under the sky to feel the raindrops? We take it so for granted, don't we? Yet here's an individual who's been bedridden for a long period of time. He doesn't say, I'm going to go out and buy a Mercedes. I'm going to get on a jet plane. Or I'm going to do bungee jumping. No. I'm just going to have the raindrops fall on my face. And that's such an amazing statement, coming from the heart of an individual. True heart, as I call it. Because it's not that physical heart we're talking about, that true spirit that God has put in us, that you're made to appreciate. So I will get deeper into this, but the foundation that I wish to build, the way I see life, and the way my religion tells me to see life, and I'm sure yours, if you're not a Muslim, I'm sure it says the same, is that we must look at the life, this living, as a glass that is half full. See, I can look at a glass that has half filled water, and I can look at it two ways. I can either see it as a half full glass,